So this being an introductory session to the Constitution of India on the lecture series, today we will first of all we will be knowing that what all we have to discuss under the theme Constitution of India. That is the most important thing. So what all thing we will be discussing in the next 10 to 12 days span, whatever time it will be taking till the completion of the whole lecture. We will be starting with the what is Constitution. First of all, we will discuss that what is actually the Constitution is and what are the salient features of the Indian Constitution. What is Constitution and what are the salient features of the Indian Constitution. Then we will be moving to the historical background of the Indian Constitution. We will be starting with the Indian Council Act and we will be coming to the Indian Independence Act. I hope you all are sitting with your notebook. So not now, when we will be having something to note down, just make sure you keep on taking a note of all this thing. So we will be discussing the historical background. We will be having the historical background starting from the Government Act, the Council Act, Indian Council Act to the Indian Independence Act 1947. After which we will be moving to the preamble. After the historical background, we will be moving with the preamble of the Indian Constitution, in which we will discuss in detail the preamble of the Indian Constitution. After that, we will be moving to the fundamental right, starting from the basic fundamental right, going to the last fundamental right, and not only we will be discussing that what is Article 12, what is Article 13 or what is Article 28. We will be discussing with the case laws. For example, in which case the Supreme Court has stated what. That is the most important thing for a law student. For a common man, for a layman, this fundamental right is known to everybody. So for a layman, this fundamental right is known to everybody. But we will be discussing this in view of the case law, the judgment of the Supreme Court and the Privy Council that we have to take into consideration. So we will be discussing each and every article of the Indian Constitution, whether it is Article 12 talking about the state or whether it is Article 18 or whether it is Article 32. We will be discussing each of them in detail along with the case laws, taking into consideration the Supreme Court judgment or the Privy Council judgment, whatever has been given up to now. And after the fundamental right, we will be going to the fundamental duties. These are the simple thing that everybody knows, but as it is a constitutional lecture series, so we have to discuss this all thing. Then we will be moving to the directive principle of state policy. After which we will be discussing all the important amendment which has been made to the Indian Constitution up to 10th of August 2021. Because the latest, just now I was surfing through the live law and just now it has come that the Lok Sabha has passed another amendment in the last 10 seconds. Okay, so the Lok Sabha has passed another amendment related to the OBC power given to the state government. So we will be discussing about all the amendments that are important for the Constitution and all which is important for keeping into perspective the CLAT aspirants or the whoever is in the law school. And then we will be moving to the schedules, all the important schedules of the Indian Constitution. After which we will be having a discussion on the different organizations of related to the Constitution, like the Election Commission. We will be discussing about the President, the Governor, the Supreme Court and the High Court. So this is the total just means outline of what we are going to discuss in the next 12 to 15 days in the whole constitutional lecture series, starting from what is Constitution, the historical background, moving to the fundamental right in view of all the important judgments which are given by the Supreme Court and the Privy Council. Then we will be moving to the fundamental duties. Then we will be having the DPSP, that is the Directive Principle of State Policy. Then we will be having the amendment, all the important amendment which has been made in the Constitution up till now, the important schedules, and then we will discuss about the Election Commission, the President, Governor, Supreme Court, High Court, all the important departments which are considered under the Indian Constitution. So the first thing that comes to our mind, without wasting time, just we will start the session about the Constitution. The first thing we will be discussing that what is the Constitution. Okay, what is the Constitution? So there are various definitions available in the whole of the world, in the whole of India, in the whole world, in the various law book, in the various magazine, in the various article. The most common definition that we come for Constitution, hope you are sitting with your notebook and your pen. that constitution is just an organic instrument. It is an organic instrument in which the governmental power has been conferred and circumscribed. Constitution is just an organic instrument in which the governmental power has been conferred and circumscribed. Means, what are the laws that will be governing the state, not the citizen? For the citizen, we have the IPC, Indian Penal Code 1860. We have the CRPC. Okay, we have the Code of Criminal Procedure, that is 1973. We have the Indian Evidence Act for the 1872. But the constitution is what are the limits, what are the power, and how will the government, the institution, the various organ of the Indian government of the Indian will work. That is prescribed and circumscribed in the Constitution of India. That is a written document. Now, constitution can be a written document or unwritten document. Just we will take the common example of USA, which does not have a written constitution, while India, we have the written constitution, which is one of the salient feature of the Indian constitution. We will be discussing just after this that what are the salient features of the Indian constitution. So our constitution is a written document which is created by the government, by the framers of the Indian constitution, by our founding fathers, who worked hard for 2 years, 11 months, 18 days, so that our India can be, means there should be a rule and regulation on which the country is working. For that we have a constitution. So it is just an instrument under which the governmental power are conferred and circumscribed. Now when we are talking about the constitution has some salient features. Our constitution, that is the Indian constitution, our Indian constitution has some salient features because of which our constitution is one of the most landmark constitution. Apart from the time it took, that is 2 years, 11 months, 18 days, the founding fathers, the time they took, and whatever the discussion, the Constituent Assembly formation, whatever Rajendra Prasad as the president, then we have the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, objective resolution moved by Jawaharlal Nehru. This, apart from this all thing, we have some salient feature which make a distinction of our Indian constitution from the other constitution. Start taking the note of all this thing. The first and the most important salient feature of the Indian constitution is our Indian constitution is a written constitution. Unlike USA, we have a written constitution in which in every part, every article has been described, starting from the state, going to the freedom of speech and expression, moving to the constitutional provision of Article 32. Then we have Article 40, and then we have the fundamental duties and the directive principle of state policy. So the salient feature, among the salient feature, the first salient feature is we have the written constitution. I hope most of you have not in the real, but in the image you must have seen our real constitution, how it looked like. Okay, so it is a written constitution, and the second salient feature is it is the longest constitution of the world. Our Indian constitution is the longest constitution, in the initially having 395 articles. Initially our Indian constitution have had 395 articles. Okay, so we have the longest constitution having 395 articles initially. What we have today, we will be discussing that. So first is the written constitution, second is we have the longest constitution, third is the most important thing is we have the rule of law. Our constitution framers, they prescribed to India to be having rule of law. We don't have rule by law. Now what is the difference between rule of law and rule by law? First of all, understand rule by law. By law, matlab ki the government, the president or the dictator, better to say the dictator is using the law to oppress and suppress the people. Just rule by law, if you take the latest example is your sedition under section 124A of the Indian Penal Code 1860. This something, although this is not a rule by law, but this is something can be considered just for the sake of example, this is something rule by law. So rule by law is the dictator, not to say the government. The dictator is using the law to suppress the people. That is the rule by law. But our constitutional founding fathers stated for rule of law, where just not like in any way we are doing whatever we want. The state cannot do anything whatever it want. The state have to follow a procedure. The rules, the regulation has been prescribed in the constitution according to which the government has to work. So it is, that's why, because we have the rule of law. The government is a limited government, whether it is an elected government or whether it is the means appointed government. But our government is limited because of the constitution. So we have the rule of law, not rule by law, because the laws are not used to suppress the people, but in India laws are used to help the citizen of India. And this constitution, always remember, constitution is not for the common citizen, it is in view of the state. Here state does not mean Andhra Pradesh or Bihar or Jharkhand or Gujarat or Odisha. Here state is the Indian government. Okay, Indian government is being reflected as state in the constitution. Just keep this point for your, remember this point for your whole lifetime. In the constitution, state is your, not the Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat or Karnataka. It is the Indian government. So we have the rule of law, not rule by law. The laws are made so that a rule and regulation is prescribed according to which the government has to work, guys. Then the one of the most important and landmark salient feature of our Indian constitution is the separation of power. I hope you are writing whatever I am telling, and just let me see. Just tell me that the speed is okay. Priyamvada and all, just let me know if the speed is okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Hmm. So we have the separation of power in our Indian constitution. We have the separation of power. What is separation of power? This is something that all the various organ of the government will be separated from each other. That is, we have the executive, we have the legislative, and we have the judiciary. They should not interfere in each other working. That is the common thing that you can understand from separation of power. That the executive and the legislative and the judiciary are separated from each other. They should not interfere in the working of each other. Executive is where the decisions regarding the government working, the governance is taken. That is the executive wing of the executive organ of the government. Legislative is the where the laws are made, where we have the Parliament of India, the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and in the respective state we have the Legislative Assembly, and in 6th state we have Legislative Council. And the latest development is West Bengal government has passed the Legislative Council for itself. But the most important thing is that this the Legislative Council, even if it has been passed by the Trinamool Congress in West Bengal, but it has to be passed by both the houses of the parliament. Why I am telling you this? Because this is a very important and current issue that the Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, has lost her seat in Nandigram to Subhendu Adhikari. Now she has only 3 months left, in which either she has to be appointed to the Legislative Council or by-election has to be held and she has to get elected. If not, then she has to resign. So Legislative Assembly is in all the state is present. We have 6 states with Legislative Council, and the latest development is in West Bengal. This whole thing, you, as a law student or as a law aspirant, you should always be having this thing in your mind. So West Bengal government has passed the Legislative Council bill, but I am telling you that Assam in 2010 and one more state is there. I am not remembering at this point of time. 2011. Assam in 2010 and one more state is there, has passed in 2011 this Legislative Council, but still it has not been passed by the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, because they have to be passed by both the houses of the parliament. So legislative is the place where laws is made, and judiciary, our God, okay, our God, judiciary is the place where the people are given the justice, where the laws made by the legislative are checked whether they don't violate any of the provision of the constitution, which take us to the concept of judicial review that we will be discussing afterward. So this is the separation of power. This is one of the most salient feature of Indian constitution, that is the executive, legislative and judiciary has been separated so that they don't interfere in each other working. Okay, but one way or the other the appointment made to the judiciary by the executive. Okay, and there is all the case, so that we will not discuss that that whether they are really separated, whether there is really a separation of power or not. That is something means that we will be having debate competition on, that we will be discussing. So after the separation of power, the fifth salient feature of Indian constitution is the independent judiciary. Our constitution provide for independent judiciary. We have an independent judiciary. Now how our judiciary has been made independent, that is the most important. It is, everyone says that the Indian judiciary is independent, Indian judiciary is independent, but how it is independent, that is the most important. So our Indian judiciary is something which is the custodian of the rights of the citizen. Okay, now the most famous means the most best thing the Indian judiciary has is that any law which has been passed by the legislative, they can be held unconstitutional only and only by the judiciary. Now the state here means the government. Okay, keep this point in your mind. Government, the state cannot pass any arbitrary law. For that we have the judiciary, the independent judiciary, where they are appointed by the president in consultation with the judicial authority. For example, take the case of the Chief Justice of India. Now when we will be discussing Supreme Court and High Court, that time we will be discussing in detail. Just I am telling why our judiciary is independent. That is the point. So for example, you take the case of Chief Justice of India. In the appointment of Chief Justice of India, the president has to consult the judges of the Supreme Court. Similarly, for the judges of the Supreme Court, the president has to consult the Chief Justice of India. Similarly, for the judges of the High Court, the president has to consult with the governor, and the governor will consult the Chief Justice of that particular High Court. Or for the appointment of other judges of a High Court, the governor has to consult the Chief Justice. So more or less, they are not something like the political party coming and asking you for give them vote. They are someone who are appointed after taking into consideration the judicial consultation, that is it. So this is the first provision why our judiciary is independent. The appointment that are made in our Indian constitution for the judiciary is made in consultation with the judicial authority only. Okay. Second thing is that the tenure of the security means there is a security of the tenure. The judges' tenure are secured. We have 65 year, we have the 65 year of age for the Supreme Court judges. Now the thing is that it is not that they cannot be removed, but it is a very lengthy procedure. They can be, the judges of the Supreme Court or the High Court, they can be removed only on the basis of proven misbehavior or incapacity. Guys, remember this thing, my word for the whole life. Whatever we are teaching in Lightning Dream for the next 12 to 15 days. This is not only for your law school, this is not only for your CLAT, this is not only in taking into consideration any limit. Even in UPSC, this question is asked. You go and check the UPSC last year paper, previous year paper, you will find this question. So it is not that only the law student can attend this session. That is the main thing I want to tell, that it has been asked even in the UPSC also many times, that the judges of the Supreme Court or the High Court can be removed only on the ground of proven misbehavior or incapacity. But guys, still in India, not a single judge has been removed. Latest example is Deepak Gupta. I am forgetting the name, Justice Deepak Gupta. It is all Justice Deepak Gupta, for which the removal procedure was initiated by the Congress UPA government in the parliament, but it was not passed. So it is a very lengthy procedure in which a resolution has to be introduced in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, either of the house. Guys, these terms are very important now for you as a law student or whatever you are. Either house of the parliament. We all know that money bill can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. Money bill can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha, but an ordinary bill can be introduced in either house of the parliament. So similarly, for the removal of the judge, A resolution has to be introduced in either house of the parliament, which has to be passed by a special majority, and then it has to be given the president assent. After that only a judge can be removed. But in the history of India till 10th of August 2021, not a single judge of Indian judiciary has been removed by this procedure. So the provision is proven misbehavior and incapacity. So the thing we were discussing, the independence of judiciary, that is they are having a secured tenure. They are having a secured tenure. Another thing. Then the third point is that their salaries, the salaries of the judges of the Supreme Court and High Court, they cannot be discussed in the parliament. For example, the salaries or the judges of the MPs or the MLA, I hope you must be knowing the MPLAD fund. Okay, the 15% amount that has been cut in view of the corona case. Okay, the amount that is given to the member of parliament for their constituency. So this all things, the salaries of the MPs and the MLAs can be discussed in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. But never and ever the salaries of the judges of the Supreme Court or the High Court can be discussed in either house of the parliament. Only in case of your emergency, only in case of emergency, when it is a financial emergency or national emergency, only at that time their salary can be reduced. Only in that case. But it cannot be discussed in the parliament. So this is the third point why we are having an independent judiciary. Okay, so the salaries and allowance of the judges is not put to vote in the legislature. Now, and the last important thing is for the why our judiciary is independent is that the staff of the Supreme Court or the High Court or the rules regarding the procedure, the working of the Supreme Court. Now you see, when the corona, the pandemic has came, it was not the government who decided that whether the Supreme Court should function physically or virtually. It was the court itself, whether it is the Bombay High Court, Madras High Court, or whether it is the Supreme Court, it has decided that we will be functioning virtually. And now recently the Madras High Court and even the Gujarat High Court has told that from 15th of August or 18th of August, we will be starting physically. So it is not the government which will be deciding the rules, regulations of this, of the court. It is the judges, it is the Supreme Court itself which decide who will be her staff, okay, who will be her staff and what are the rules that has to be followed. So this is all about independence of judiciary. This is all thing you have to know. Even, for example, if we take into consideration CLAT perspective, just what was asked in CLAT 2021, it is very common that anything can be asked by CLAT. So if they give an article on independence of judiciary, okay, or separation of power, so this all thing will be included in that. And as a law student, that was for law aspirant, and as a law student, we must be knowing that how our Indian judiciary is independent. So we talk about the longest constitution, written constitution. We talk about the separation of power, rule of law, independent judiciary. Then another salient feature of the Indian constitution is judicial review. What is judicial review, guys? So judicial review is any law passed by the state. Again, I am repeating, state is the government here. Okay, not the BJP, Karnataka or Madhya Pradesh state. It is the Indian government. Any law passed by the state, if it violates any of the provision of the Indian constitution, that can be struck down by the Supreme Court of India. So the Indian judiciary has been given the power of your judicial review, in which if any of the provision, any of the laws, any of the act passed by the government, if it violate any of the provision of the Indian constitution, that will be directly struck down by the court, the apex court of India. So this is judicial review. They will check that whether the law is in view of the provisions of the Indian constitution. There are various instances where we can consider this thing, the judicial review thing, where the various laws of the state government or the central government has been struck down. The latest example, guys, is the your tribunal amendment bill. The new tribunal amendment bill is, I hope you must be knowing as a law student and as a law aspirant, I consider that you must be knowing, I presume that you must be knowing all this thing. The recently, the tribunal amendment bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Now, before the bill was passed, this bill was passed, just some days before, the Supreme Court has struck 2 to 3 provisions of this bill. 2 to 3 provision of the bill has been struck down by the Supreme Court, but again the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha has passed the bill with the same provision that was struck down by the Supreme Court. Now again this will be challenged in the Supreme Court. Again Supreme Court will struck down. So here come the power, who is more powerful. Here come the question that who is more powerful, whether it is the legislative or judiciary. Give the answer afterward, not now. So this was about the introduction to the constitution, the salient feature of the Indian constitution. With that we start with the history of the historical background of the Indian constitution. Just a basic thing we will be discussing, that in which year, in which act, means like the Government of India Act or the Indian Council Act or the Government of India Act 1935, in which act what provisions were introduced. I hope till this it is clear to everybody, guys. Yeah. Thank you. So we will be now be starting with the mm, mm. now we will be starting with the historical background of the Indian constitution. The first and the foremost thing which comes to our mind when we talk about the historical background, guys, is your Government of India Act. Now I will be a little bit slow so that you are able to write this thing. Okay, because I am writing in the shortcut, but it will take time to you for write this thing. The first thing that we talk when we discuss the historical background of Indian constitution, the first is the Government of India Act 1858. Government of India Act 1858 is the something which is considered to be the base. For example, when you start making a house, the first important thing is the base, the pillar. Okay. Now this Government of India Act was the first statute which was passed by the Parliament, which marked the beginning of the Indian Constitution. Bus, इसमें nothing more you have to remember that what was introduced, because nothing such has been introduced. The Government of India Act 1858, it is the first statute which was passed by the Parliament, which marked the beginning of the Indian Constitution. That you have to remember. This can be a direct question, that which was the first act which marked the beginning of the evolution of the Indian Constitution. So that is the Government of India Act 1858. Then we come to the Regulating Act of 1773. Now we will be discussing in line. Regulating Act of 1773. Then we will discuss the Charter Act of 1833. Then the Charter Act of 1853. Government of India Act 1858, Indian Council Act 1861, Indian Council Act 1909, that is the Moldem-Minto reform. Then we will be discussing the Government of India Act 1919, that is the Montagu-Chelmsford reform. Then Government of India Act 1935, then the Simon Commission, Mountbatten Plan, and Indian Independence Act 1947. So लग रहा होगा कि बहुत लंबा है, but just we will be discussing what were the important provisions that were introduced by this act. So the first we have the Regulating Act of 1773. What happened in the Regulating Act of 1773, guys? These are the things which you have to keep in your mind up till your retirement from the Supreme Court or the High Court. Okay, it is not just for your means today, tomorrow, or for your judiciary or for your clerk. This is something which you should keep in mind for every time. So the Regulating Act of 1773, what it did, a Governor General for Bombay, Madras and Bengal was appointed. What happened, guys? Bombay, Madras and Bengal. A Governor General for Bombay, Madras and Bengal was appointed, and the name was Warren Hastings. Okay, those who are preparing for MSCT, those who are preparing for BHU, these are the most famous question that is asked in BHU MSCT. So, by the Regulating Act of 1773, the Governor General of Bombay, Madras and Bengal was appointed, and who was it? Warren Hastings. Lord Warren Hastings was the Governor General of Bombay, Madras and Bengal by the Regulating Act of 1773. Second provision of the Regulating Act of 1773 is, just guys write little bit थोड़ा speed में, okay? Because we have to cover a lot of things in the next 12 to 15 days. After that, we are having many more things to do. So first provision is done. Second is it is the establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta in 1774. Guys, these are the thing that you have to keep in mind. अभी प्रेजेंट में, इन प्रेजेंट द सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज इन दिल्ली, but by the regulating act, the most famous question of I have seen in BHU, I have seen in MSCT, I have seen in all the private law college, and I have seen in UPSC, JPSC, BPSC, whatever it is, whether it is Jharkhand Public Service Commission, whether it is Bihar Public Service Commission, whether it is Union Public Service Commission, or whether it is judiciary. When they ask the polity question, the most famous question is by which act the Supreme Court was established in Calcutta. The answer is the Regulating Act of 1773. It was established in 1774. It was established in 1774. Okay, but the Supreme Court in Calcutta was the establishment of the Supreme Court in Calcutta was come with the Regulating Act of 1773. So these are the two important provisions of the Regulating Act of 1773. First, the Governor General of Bombay, Madras and Bengal, Warren Hastings, and the establishment of the Supreme Court at Calcutta. It was in 1774, but the act was the Regulating Act of 1773. Done. After the Regulating Act of 1773 comes the Charter Act of 1833. See guys, I am telling you one thing. Fundamental right, Article 12 talk about the state, Article 14 talk about the equality before law, Article 15 talk about the no discrimination on the ground of this, Article 20 talk about ex post facto law, Article 21 talk about right to life. ये तो सबको ही जानते हैं, everyone knows. But taking into consideration from the history and going to the fundamental right, we will be discussing this all thing in view of cases. So for the who are in the law school, it will be helping you in your study, in your preparation. Those who are in the for the CLAT, they must be knowing that कैसे काम करता है, because today or tomorrow you will be going in the law school. There you will be taught the same thing. So the Charter Act of 1833, what happened? The Governor General of Bengal. We have discussed in Regulating Act of 1773, guys. We have discussed that Governor General was authorized for Bengal, Madras and Bengal. Bombay, Madras and Bengal. Okay. Now the Charter Act of 1833, इसके अंदर लिखिए कि the Governor General of Bengal, the Governor General of Bengal was made the first Governor General of India. The Governor General of Bengal was made the first Governor General of India, and who was it? Lord William Bentinck. Lord William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. Independent India नहीं बोला है मैंने, guys. These are the thing. Constitution बहुत easy लगता है, but the words are very important. Okay, and as a law student, you know what is the value of word. So what happened by the Charter Act of 1833? The Governor of Bengal, the Governor General of Bengal, he became the first Governor General of India, and who was it? Lord William Bentinck. Lord William Bentinck became the first Governor General of India by the Charter Act of 1833. अभी आप लोगों को लग रहा होगा कि ये सब पढ़ के क्या करेंगे? What will be the benefit of this? But guys, whether you are preparing for any of the law entrance exam, whether you are preparing for judiciary, whether you are preparing for UPSC, or whether you are going to become a constitutional lawyer, these are the things that you have to know. Without this, you cannot enter directly into constitution. I could have come and started Article 1, India, that is Bharat shall be a union of state. Article 2, Article 3, and it will be completed within 5 days. But historical background is very important. Directly, we cannot jump into the Indian constitution fundamental right. So Charter Act of 1833 is done. Okay. अगर किसी का छूट जाएगा, either you unmute and tell me, or once I stop sharing the whiteboard, you can ask me. I will be telling if anything is left. Okay, don't worry. कोई हड़बड़ी नहीं है. Then we have the Charter Act of 1853, guys. Charter Act of 1853. Now this Charter Act of 1853, what happened? There was the establishment of the Central Legislative Council. What is Central Legislative Council? The establishment of the Central Legislative Council was done by the Charter Act of 1853, and it was a Charter Act of 1853 which introduced the open examination system, which is called the Civil Service Exam. Okay, just after the session is over, not today, means the whole lecture series is over, I will be sharing you the 1000 question on constitution, or you can take any question of constitution, and if anything would not have been taught in this lecture series, whatever you will tell, I think Dream is ready for that. You can take up any question of constitution or from anywhere, whether it is any means the toughest question you can take, and everything will be taught in the class. You will find it is your responsibility is only to keep your mind open and make notes, nothing more. So Charter Act of 1853, what happened? The establishment of the Central Legislative Council and the introduction of the open examination system, that is called the Civil Service Exam. उसके बाद आता है then come the Government of India Act. अभी तक क्या था? Charter Act. Now we have the Government of India Act 1858. बहुत these are very very important act, guys. इसमें whatever happening, whatever changes are happening, you have to remember this also. Very important. So the Government of India Act 1858 में what happened? The Governor General. First of all, what happened? सबसे पहले there was the establishment of the Governor General for Bombay, Bengal and Madras. Then by the Charter Act of 1833, don't watch the screen, check your notes. The Charter Act of 1833, the Governor General of Bengal, he became the first Governor General of India, that was Lord William Bentinck. Now the Government of India Act 1858, what happened? The Governor General was changed to Viceroy of India, guys. So question will be that by which act the Governor General was changed to the Viceroy of India? That is the Government of India Act 1858, and the first Viceroy of India was Lord Canning. C-A-N-I-N-G. Canning. C-A-N-I-N-G. Lord Canning was the first Viceroy of India, and the Governor General was changed to Viceroy of India by the Government of India Act 1858. उसके बाद then we have the after the Government of India Act 1858 comes the Indian Council Act of 1861. A very 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 common question and very common topic in whenever we will be talking about the history today, tomorrow, or even after 100 of years. This is a very important act, the Indian Council Act of 1861. The Indian Council of 1861 for the first time introduced the Indian to be represented in the Legislative Council. क्या बोला मैंने? What I told? The Indian Council Act 1861 introduced for the first time the Indians to be represented in the Legislative Council. अभी तक we were not being allowed to represent. Laws were made for us, guys. Okay, once you will, whenever you get that free time, go and watch the making of the Constitution, and you will be means it is a very emotional scene you will be getting. Many emotional scenes are there. Our country, we are Indians, but we were not allowed to make laws for ourselves. We were not knowing that what laws are made. Just the laws were passed by the British government and imposed on us. But by the Indian Council Act of 1861, it was the first time that the Indians were allowed to represent in the Legislative Council. अब इसके बाद आता है the very famous Indian Council Act. Okay, you can also write in the shortcut, but just make sure that you remember while you are revising. ऐसा नहीं कि while you are revising you are thinking that यहाँ पे IC क्या है. Indian Council Act of 1909. The other name is Morley-Minto Reform. Go and pick up any of the polity book, और अगर 100 क्वेश्चन में 10 बार ये क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा गया कि व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ द इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट 1909, Morley-Minto Reform, or the Morley-Minto Reform is regarded as the Indian Council Act 1909, then whatever you will say, we will be doing that. Just go and check any of the polity question. The Indian Council Act 1909 is regarded as the Morley-Minto Reform. Very important. Just remember this for your whole life. Morley-Minto Reform is Indian Council Act 1909. This Morley-Minto Reform introduced the separate electorate for the Muslim. I hope and I presume that you must be knowing the story of Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Jawaharlal Nehru and B.R. Ambedkar and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. What all has happened that time during this period of 1909. How was Muhammad Ali Jinnah was what Ali Jinnah has done. So the Indian Council Act 1909 Morley-Minto Reform, it introduced the separate electorate for the Muslim. This was the first time when the separate electorate for the Muslim was introduced by the Indian Council Act of 1909, that is the Morley-Minto Reform. Now comes the very famous, you have the Government of India Act 1919, which is called the Montagu-Chelmsford Reform. Montague, Montague Chelmsford, Chelmsford, Montague Chelmsford Reform Government of India Act 1919. This was the time when the diarchy system was introduced in India. Diarchy is the concept of dual government, है ना? The concept of this was the time when the concept of dual government was used, where we have the in the central government we have the legislature, that is the Council of State, and the Legislative Assembly. That is the dual government was introduced for the first time in India by the Government of India in 1919, which is called the Montague Chelmsford Reform. Okay, and in the provincial we have the Council of State and the Legislative Assembly. उसी को बाद में बदल के नाउ वी हैव द लोकसभा, राज्यसभा एंड द लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली एंड लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल. So what happened, guys? Diarchy was introduced, that is the concept of dual government was introduced in the Government of India Act 1919, and the second thing was the establishment of the Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission we have today. So it was established by the Government of India Act 1919. It was the Government of India Act 1919 which introduced the Public Service Commission. Okay, यहाँ तक I hope no one has any doubt. अच्छा पंकज, what you asked to repeat, let me know once again. Unmute yourself. Once again, you are not audible. Okay, I will repeat it at the end of the session because it's already 8:49. Okay. So we were discussing the Montague Chelmsford Reform, that is the Diarchy and the Public Service Commission was established. Now we come to the Government of India Act 1935. Don't assume that it is 1 hour session and it will be over at 9 o'clock. Someday it will be over before 9 o'clock. Sometime it can go 9:05 also. So I am on the target of completing the historical background. Just finger left. That is the Government of India Act 1935 and the Indian Independence Act. Now, after the Montague Chelmsford Reform, we had the Government of India Act 1935. Okay. Now, this Government of India Act 35, whenever we discuss the Government of India Act 1935, the most common thing that comes to the mind of any citizen of India, okay, is the Simon Commission. The Simon Commission, है ना? The government of British government appointed the Simon Commission. Why was the Simon Commission appointed? The Simon Commission was appointed by the British government to look the validity, or better to say not the validity, means just to have a report, है ना, on the working of the Government of India Act 1919. That is the Montague Chelmsford Reform. Simon Commission was appointed by the British government to have a inquiry or just to have a report of how the Government of India Act 1919 was working. For that, Sir John Simon, very very important guys, इसको रिमूव करते रुकिए. Simon Commission में आपको क्या याद रखना है? John Simon was the person who headed the commission. John Simon, SIMON, Simon. Okay, 1930 में इसने अपना रिपोर्ट बनाया था. 1930 में साइमन कमीशन ने रिपोर्ट बनाया था एंड द हेड ऑफ द साइमन कमीशन वाज योर जॉन साइमन. ठीक है, तो साइमन कमीशन किस लिए बना था पता चल गया. अब नाउ दिस गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935 जो है दैट वी वर डिस्कसिंग, ये जो है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935, इट इज द रिजल्ट ऑफ द साइमन कमीशन रिपोर्ट, बिकॉज द 1919 एक्ट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया 1919 फेल्ड. इसीलिए साइमन कमीशन ने बोला कि इट हैज फेल्ड, सो फॉर दैट वी इंट्रोड्यूस द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935. द फर्स्ट provision of Government of India Act 1935 was the abolition of diarchy. The diarchy, है ना, which was introduced by the Government of India Act 1919, Montague Chelmsford Reform, was abolished by the Government of India Act 1935. After which there comes the 3 list. जैसे अभी हम लोग के पास क्या है, यूनियन लिस्ट है ना, यूनियन लिस्ट, स्टेट लिस्ट एंड कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट. In the similar manner, that time also 3 list was introduced, that is the federal list. Federalist was for the central government, which was having 59 items. Guys, this is a very important thing. Three lists was introduced by the Government of India Act 1935. First was the Federal list, that is by the central government, which was having 59 items. Then the second was the provisional list, okay, which was by the provinces. है ना, अभी तो स्टेट नहीं ना बना था, अभी तो सरदार भाई पटेल ना, सरदार भाई पटेल द लीजेंडरी सरदार भाई वल्लभ पटेल अभी तो फॉर्म में आए नहीं थे, तो अभी क्या था, प्रोविंसेस था, है ना, अभी हैदराबाद ये सब कुछ मिला नहीं है. तो provinces were having 54 items. Provisional list by the provinces having 54 items and the concurrent list अभी भी है present form of government में भी, जिसमें both the central government and the state government can make laws. So it is having 36 items. So the Government of India Act 1935 introduced the federal list, provincial list and concurrent list. Federal list by the central government having 59 items, provincial list by the provinces having 54 items, and the concurrent list having 36 items where the center and the provinces can make law. Second provision हो गया. एक पहला क्या था, abolition of diarchy. Second था three list. Third is the government of the establishment of the Federal Court of RBI. Federal Court एक हो गया. Federal Court and RBI was established by the Government of India Act 1935. ये तो बहुत सबको जानते हैं कि Government of India Act 19 it was done 1st of April guys 1935 when the Reserve Bank of India, the Central Bank of India was established, है ना, 1st of April 1935. ये जनरल नॉलेज हो गया, स्टैटिक नॉलेज, it is not related to constitution. So the Federal Court and the RBI was established by the Government of India 1935, and by the Government of India 1935 Burma is what, present day Myanmar ना, यही लोग कंट्री हम लोग से अलग होके आज हीरो बन गया है. तो by the Government of India Act 1935 then Burma, now Myanmar was separated. Burma was separated from India, okay, which is now called the Myanmar. So this is the Government of India Act 1935. क्या क्या याद रखना है, abolition of diarchy, 3 list, federal list, provincial list and the concurrent list. Then you have the establishment of the Federal Court and RBI, and the Burma was separated from India, which is the present day Myanmar. Now come the last thing, just give me a minute. Before we move to the ये Indian Independence Act, उससे पहले क्या हुआ, historical background of Indian Constitution. So yeah, we have the Mountbatten Plan. After the Government of India Act 1935 and before the Indian Independence Act 1947, we had the Mountbatten Plan, है ना, we had the Mountbatten Plan, which was the 1947 May Mountbatten Plan. It was the Mountbatten Plan which resulted in the Indian Independence Act 1947, and the British rule, the 182-year, है ना, the 182-year-old British rule of our country came to an end. There was the partition of India and Pakistan. India was declared as an independent and sovereign nation, and Lord Mountbatten was shown as the first Governor General of independent India. इसीलिए मैंने उस समय बोला था mark my word, क्योंकि उस टाइम क्या हम लोगों ने पढ़ा था, Lord William Bentinck became the first Governor General of India by the Charter Act of 1833. Check your notes, है ना. But by the Indian Independence Act, the British rule, the 182-year British rule came to an end. The partition of India into India and Pakistan, India declared an independent and sovereign nation, and Lord Mountbatten became the first Governor General of independent India. So that was all about your historical background of the Indian Constitution. Thank you.